Hello guys, welcome to the studio. So we've been painting a lot of different things, and today I want to start doing a portrait of Henri Matisse. So it's a new series, it's called The Most Wanted. So it's a series of really well-known famous painters, artists. So I've done Manet a couple of days ago. I can show you. Okay, this is a painting of Edouard Manet. I've done one of Picasso. I'm working on it. Actually, it's not finished. And today we're going to start a Matisse. So when I start a painting like this, so first of all, those paintings are black and white. As usual, you're familiar with it, I guess. Hello guys, welcome to the studio. Today we're going to do a little painting of Henri Matisse. Not a painting by Henri Matisse, but a portrait of Henri Matisse. So I'm going to start, show you a little bit how I do it. So you see, usually I mix a little bit of a, light gray colors, whatever, and I'm going to start outlining a little bit the drawing. So I framed the image to fit my paper, so I can use the negative space to locate the face of Matisse. So I'm using the background as well. I'm sorry, I'm going to put that, otherwise it's just annoying because the board is moving. I'm going to do a close-up on the image so you see what I'm doing. So as I say, I'm going to start by doing what I call the big volume. So I'm not going to start with details. I'm just trying to just locate the big thing. So for those of you who have been experimenting a little bit with me and who've been working maybe on a couple of my horse paintings, my horse tutorial, it's pretty much the same thing. So at the beginning, I really, I don't try to go in any kind of detail. Right now, all I'm trying to do is what I call the big mass. So, just structuring the paper. Oops, I'm sorry, I hit the camera off the... So what I like about doing the black and white, it's a nice way to start doing portraiture without getting too much in something really complex. The black and white is just about values and drawing. So it's a nice way to just learn without getting too much into something really complex, of course, with the colors and so on. Even if in that series I will also do some portraits in colors. I like those old photos of artists, that's Matisse working on something, I guess maybe a collage or a... I don't want to, I'm not really interested in what's going on in the background, the library and so on. So I'm just giving some information. I think it will be enough to understand its books. So what is important to see as well is to judge the grays. Like for example, you see here, this part of the hair is darker than this, while the top of the head here is still darker here, but here we of course become much lighter. So we're gonna have to understand and try to transcript with the grays those things. There's a lot of chance that, and if you can see I mean, I don't know how it's going to be, but I'm working on the portrait of Picasso, and I'm really struggling with that portrait. It's making me kind of laugh because, you know, it's always difficult when you're working on a painting and you think you're not going to make it. And clearly with that portrait of Picasso, I feel like I'm not going to make it. But on the other hand, I know that yes, if I spend enough time and if I just work long enough, eventually I will make it. So I really want you to understand that element of the portrait, which is patience. You know, there's those people who work in you know, in touristic place and so on, and they can do your caricature in few minutes. And I don't know if you have ever questioned why they're not famous artists, while sometimes they're really good. Because it's a skill. By the way, what I'm doing is maybe just a skill as well. Now I'm going to start doing what I was doing with the horses as well, which is, you know, trying to get to the lines and seeing where they're going. For example, okay, let's talk about the eyebrow here. So it's about halfway from here to here, and it's going from here to here. Okay, so it's about like this. And then the nose is vertical, and the nose is about half from here. So the nose is somewhere here. The bottom of the nose is aligned with the shoulder. So if I go on the shoulder, I'm going to have the bottom of the nose. Then the mouth is about a third from here. The other eyebrow, okay, what about that dark area here? So we're about, I would say, we're a bit lower than that, and we're about here. And it goes up, and this goes up about here. So you see, I'm trying to simplify as much as I can the drawing. So instead of, you know, trying to figure out exactly where are the things right away, I'm just locating them, mapping them. I use the word mapping a lot because it's like a map. I'm just trying to figure out what are the positions of the elements I'm painting. Like for example, the nose, here the corner of the nose, it starts from here for the corner, and if you go down, and it goes pretty much here. Okay, the beard is about here. The bottom of the ear, so the bottom of the ear is at the same level than the eyes. So the eyes are about here. And I need to be able, as I'm painting, I need to be able to change all those positions all the time. The branch of the glasses, you see, it's pretty interesting because it's going from, you know, I can even use my brush to see where it's going. It's going from here to here. So from here to here. Here, a bit lower actually. And then the here itself, we have that line here, the color, that is really interesting as well. We just collide exactly with here. And then we have the glasses. I'm going to have to use some white that is here. I'm going to switch of brush. I'm going to use a smaller brush, this one. So I don't know, for the Picasso painting, I'm really struggling because, you know, to get the likeness. But as I say, you know, you need to just relax. And just let things coming to you as well. Those elements, those structural elements in the background are important because they participate to the composition and the reason why I picked up that image. You see even the bottom of the library. You see I just moved it down because I felt it was too short, but now if I look, it's at the same level than this one, and yes, it is at the same level. And then I have this thing here, and I have some sort of stripes. I feel like the cheek is more inside. I mean, it has almost like a negative curve. You know, it's like up and up. Here he has a little bit of air, so we have a passage here. So if you, once again, if you follow my other videos, you're kind of used to the terms I'm using. So passage means there's no sharp line between those. This line, okay, so now if I look, it goes almost here, you see? So I was way too high. So it's really important to be able to move all those points we are mapping, because you know, the real problem is sometimes we do something which is not at the right place and we get stick into it. You know, I mean, we just say, okay, we're not going to move it because either we're a bit lazy or we're a bit lost or whatever. But it's really important to be able to move those elements. We have a little bit of a challenge because he has really thin white hair and they give a lot of volume to the skull. So you see I'm using my brush. You don't have to paint all the hair, just if you give the movement, might be enough. Then I have the top of the hair like this. Here I feel like it's a bit more blurry, so I'm just gonna help that here. I have the color. So I'm using a lot of liquid at the beginning just to block the surface. So what I mean by blocking, I mean when it's going to dry, it's going to avoid the paper to be too absorbent. I won't have to use as much liquid after a while because of course the paper is going to be saturated with that product. So when I paint something like this, I usually like to work in several sessions. So when I did the horses, for many of them it was one session. So I mean I started and finished the horse in the same time period without, you know, switching a day off or something. For those paintings, for portraits like this, it's different. I usually like to do it I cannot say, because it's going to depend. It's going to be depend of a lot of things. Sometimes you get the likeness quickly. Sometimes it's more, it's more difficult. So, for example, if I look at that glasses, it's about the top of the glasses. I would say is half of the paper. So half of the paper, half the top of the glasses, and then it goes down like this. And same thing here. So I can just saturate my paper. So as I say, for painting like this, it might take me 3, 4, 5, 10 sessions. I have no clue yet. I just know it will take the time it takes. It's funny because it already starts looking like Matisse. So if you're really struggling a lot with the drawing, you can also use a grid, and we'll do something with the grid. I will do that in some... So basically a grid is simple. It just, you draw some rectangle and square on the photo, and you draw the same thing on your canvas. And so you just put the main elements where they seems to be, like, the eyes and so on. So it's pretty much what I do, but I don't draw I don't draw the grid. I'm used to, I've been doing that for a couple of years, and so now I don't need the grid anymore. But at the beginning, I was using a grid. I was even using a projector sometimes mostly when I have commission works, because you don't want to mess up with the likeness. And using a projector, for some people, it's like cheating. I don't feel this way. It's not because someone's going to give you a black and white drawing that is going to be simple to paint it. So it just, if you need to do it, just feel okay. What's important is the result. It's not the process. Like someone like Vermeer was using an optical chamber, which is an optical device which was helping him to draw. So those things have been around for a very long time. And by the way, the grid was used by all the great painters, like we're talking about Rubens, Van Dyck, all those guys. They were using grid without any problem. Once again, what is really important is the result. It's like talking about the work of Jeff Koons, who is using so many people to do the work he could not do himself, because it requires some skills, like, porcelain, faience, steel. Like if you look at, for example, the bunny or the balloon dog, they require a lot of amazing skills. So once again, what matters is the result. In music today, a lot of musicians are using computers and loops and so on. And some old style guy could say, oh, they're cheating. No, it doesn't matter. If the song is good, the song is good. And so now it's going to be the same thing all over again. It just, it's about mapping. It's about locating things. Like, for example, I have the little eye somewhere here. Now, if I do the vertical of this eye, it goes from here to pretty much here. So it's here. Yes, I'm good. So I'm always double checking, double mapping things. So making sure that the elements are at their place by crossing several information. You can use the diagonal, you can measure with your brush, you can use your brush like this and measure the distance, for example, from that to that and compare the distance with something else and so on. So you can use tricks, and they're not tricks, they're just something that could help you because you're not trained enough or your eyes are not, but it's a lot about practicing. Things will come to you if you practice a lot. It's like playing an instrument, pretty much. The first time you sit at the piano, there's a lot of chance you're not going to be playing a Mozart symphony or something, and it's going to take you time to acquire the skills to play it. So it's the same thing for painting. So just, feel okay with that. Each time you're going to paint something, it's going to teach you something, and you're getting more and more into being better at what you're doing. And you can feel maybe, I don't know, sometimes I feel the fatigue in me. I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. I'm sorry, let me turn it off. So yeah, I was saying, you can feel the fatigue, if your brain, because it requires a lot of attention and a lot of focus in order to think about all those relationships, placing the right element and so on. It's absolutely possible that your brain is going to kind of fried. It happens to me often when sometimes, it's not even about if I slept well or if I'm, someday you're just not as able to focus than others. So if you feel like you're overwhelmed and literally you cannot think, then just, take a break. I'm sorry, you see that's the thing, like the phones, there's a lot of things that can come into your practice that's going to be trying to make you lose your focus. For sure, I was talking about Vermeer, Rubens, Van Dyck, and so on. They didn't have to deal with that. There was no, cell phone and so on. So actually, it's interesting to think that maybe Vermeer was so good because he was not doing. He was just, didn't have a lot of entertainment at the time. No TV, radio, and so on. So it was really you and the model. Right now I'm struggling a little bit because my paper now is soaked with liquid and so on, and so it's more difficult for the painting not to be mixed with what's underneath. So I have two options right now. Either I decide to stop the painting for now, let it dry and work on it. I think I can still work a little bit, but maybe not that much. So it's why it's great to have several paintings started at the same time. Like I have so I'm working on that wood panel, and actually my Picasso is on the other side. So it's funny to have Picasso and Matisse on both sides of the panel. So what I might do is just to stop this one and go to my Picasso for a little time. And then I will go back on this one after. So you see, I'm just positioning some elements. I'm trying to judge what's lighter, what's darker, what's, you know, where is that thing in regard to this one, and so on. Some portraits are easier than others, like this one, because it's not facing us, because the eyes are not looking at us. Of course, it's going to be much easier than, for example, the Picasso I'm talking about, which is looking at us. And of course, it's much more challenging. And as I did for the horse, sometimes I like to go in places that are not really important, like for example the background. Now let's say when I say it's not important, of course it's important, but you know, it's not as crucial than the eyes. I mean, if I don't put the books at the right place, it's not that important, but it helps me to get some distance from the work and reset my eyes. So resetting your eyes is really important, the capacity of coming back into something with a fresh eye, so you see what you're doing. And it's all the same process, you know. I'm just painting with the same mindset than I started the painting. So everything needs to be possible to move. Nothing is certain. It's not because I have a line somewhere that it's going to be unmovable. If I feel like that line is not at the right place, I need to move it. And if I do that, then of course, there's a lot of chance that after a while, the elements are going to be in the right position. So as I say, this one is of course much easier than the Picasso because of the fact that he's not looking at us. So it makes things much easier. I'm running out of white, so it might be the time for me to just take a break from this one and switch to another one and work on this one tomorrow or the next day. Welcome back. So I took a little pause on this one. So the reason why I like to take some pause on those paintings is because, you know, as I said already, it helped me to reset my eyes. And so that's really important. take a break so I can give some time to my eyes to, I mean, I say my eyes, it's my brain, obviously. Give me the time to look at the painting almost like it's someone else who painted it. When I work on portraits like this, so you've seen me on the, I mean, for those who watch the videos with the horses, you've seen me working with a pretty large brush. As you can tell, I changed the size of brush, and now I'm getting into little details. As I say, I've been working on the Picasso painting at the same time, which is not doing well. The Picasso painting is really difficult. But it's okay. It's just a matter of time. I guess, I hope. When people commission me to do portraits, quite often I'm saying, you know, it depends on the size for the price. It depends on the size and the complexity of the pose. And I understand that for some people it's a bit of a strange thing to say, you know, like, but as you can tell from this one, it's much easier to paint someone from that angle and if the person is looking at you, because right now I'm not dealing with the eyes. I mean, I am, but you know, it's not like he's facing me and looking at me, and the eyes needs to be really, really accurate. This one I have much more freedom. It's more simple. So it's still the same process than when I started the big thing, you know. I just about positioning things, judging contrast, judging what is closer, what is darker, where is the lightest point, where is the darkest point. So that doesn't change. Okay. Painting glasses can be pretty challenging. It's like painting a vase with a transparency. Okay, that thing goes here, so I'm a bit higher here. The reason why that is important is because of the contrast of the skin on the color of the background or whatever it is. So I can control the contrast. Because you see, for example, here, the skull, I made it kind of random, while the shape of his skull is really different. We have almost like a bump here. You see, the line is not perfectly circled, it's just like this and like this. I'm going to switch to a little bit of a larger brush for brushing the larger surfaces. So painting on paper, the challenge is because the gray sometimes, I mean the lighter colors turn a little bit darker. So it's why I saturate the paper at the beginning with liquid, so it doesn't absorb the color that much. So my paper is still not completely dry, so I'm still facing a little bit of that, of the fact that the color are still absorbed. Tomorrow, when the painting will be more dry, it will be better. But I just want to keep on like this right now, because first, because I feel I can still make progress on that painting, even working in the fresh. But if you feel, you know, things are too muddy or too difficult, just let it go for the night, and just come back tomorrow to work on the painting. So I'm having a studio built right now. We're working on a new studio. I'm really excited about that, because right now I'm working, I mean, I'm not going to tell you everything about my life, but I've been working in this house for a few months now, and it's not as quiet as I wish it could be, but that's okay. So if you hear some noise sometimes, it's because I have some people living around. So the tough part about this one as well is because for some reason I think Matisse has clear eyes, and it's how it feels. So here, this darker color is actually a bit lighter because, yeah, I think I made it. It's always the same problem, is finding exactly the right contrast. It's what's going to lead you to something that looks really real. And I really don't think my paintings are photorealistic if you look from close. Like, you know, hyperrealism is really using a technique that makes the thing really looks like a photo from close. Mine, no. If you look at the painting from close, I will maybe post some photos of a really close-up, and you will see that it's actually not photorealistic at all if you look from a short distance. Like that's the difference between some of the German painters, like Hans Holbein. This is the Italian. The German painter Holbein and people like this, they were, even from close, you don't see the brushwork. Henri Holbein and so on. And I love those works. You know, I'm not saying there's something better in the way I work or whatever. It's just a matter of making the thing looks great, and definitely the painting of Holbein are just beautiful. We have a natural tendency at darkening things more than what they are, increasing the contrast. It's actually funny because that's what pretty much our phone they do, or the cameras, you know, they don't even ask us, they just increase the contrast to make the picture more dramatic. But for that painting particularly, that's really what I mean, I don't want to do something dramatic. I want to be close to the real light. You also have those movements in his skull. You know, there's some doubts, and of course for those ones I need to be really, really subtle. And you know, he has the skin of an old man, so I want to catch that feeling. And of course the beard. So you see, when you paint the beard, you don't have to necessarily use a tiny brush and paint, you know, hair by hair. I think it's better to work actually on the larger scale of the shades. And once again, you see all those skin work. You know, it seems he has some scars on his, or he has big pores. think I'm made his ear a bit too small. You know that the ears keep growing up. It's why old men have huge ears, usually. I was born with thin ears, so maybe I'll become an elephant. But anyway, the ears of men keep on growing. I'm playing a little bit with the books to create that library effect that I really like. You know that white spot here is actually really nice because it balances with the skin tones. I really like that light also here that goes on his shirt. So everything is important, you know, I mean, once again, if we choose an image, there's a reason for that. Now we can decide not to paint exactly the image and make alterations and so on, that's something else. But if you pick up a photo, like for example, you want to do the portrait of someone and you're going through, you know, dozens of photos, the one you're going to choose, there's going to be reason for your choice. And, you know, it's absolutely possible that you're going to choose the image also based on those details around, not necessarily only on the face or the eyes. And, you know, sometimes it's also about the background, you know, like him being in the library, or, you know, it seems like he's working on something. I mean, like for example, if we talk about Picasso, Picasso quite often staged himself in the photos, while Matisse is more showing, you know, his working side and so on. So if you do portraits, it's important as well that when you're going to choose a photo or make the model sit, because you can work from life. The reason I don't work from life is because for me there's something that I've experienced a long time ago working with model, and at some point I felt bad. I had two types of models. I have my friends or people who wanted me to paint them, and I also had people I was paying, models, professional models. And when people sit for me, sometimes I feel bad because, you know, I feel like they're spending hours and hours without moving, and I feel bad for them because modeling is really difficult. So I was feeling bad. And then people I was paying, I was feeling bad because I was wondering if they like my work or not, and if they were just modeling for me for money. Or so it's why working from photo was a good choice for me, a good solution, because, you know, I was avoiding that feeling of feeling almost guilty of using the time of someone. The other thing I like about working from photos is that I can really control the attitude of the model. And you know, when I say I work from photos, as you know, I don't work from photos, I work from a TV screen. And so I really have the feeling, not when the image is black and white, of course, but when the image is in colors, I can really have the feeling of having a model inside the studio with me. So for me, it was a nice discovery to figure out that I could work from photos. The whole thing has started because I was in San Francisco at the time, and I was not making a lot of money. I was kind of struggling. Not like most artists. Most artists are making tons of money, and I'm kidding. The number of artists who actually make a living with their painting is actually really a small number, sadly. And so a friend of mine who just wanted to support me and love my work said, "Can you do a portrait of my kids?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. Just bring them in the studio and I will paint them." And he said, "No, you don't understand. They're never going to sit." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because they don't have the patience." And then after, when I start working more with kids, I realized that he was absolutely right. And so he said, "You have to work from photos." And I hated it at the time. I didn't want to compromise myself working from photos. I thought it was something almost like shameful. And I'm sure some of you guys think working from photos is not as maybe noble as working from life. I don't know. I'm not going to get into, this kind of thing because I clearly don't know. I think once again, that's what I said earlier. What's important is the results. The fact to know if you work from photos or not. If you work from photos and you make a beautiful painting, to me it's better than if you work from life and make something that is not, I would say, that powerful. So anyway, I did this portrait of those two kids, and then everything started like this. I was not planning to be a portrait painter, and I don't consider myself necessarily as a portrait painter, but I do portraits, that's for sure. I love to paint people. And even when I was in art school, all I was doing was painting people. So it's not something that came without a reason. At the beginning, I was more interested to become a comic book artist. So maybe it's why I was more interested in painting people. Okay, so now, as you can tell, I'm working a little bit on the foreground and his outfit. I'm having a good time on this one. It's easier than the Picasso. But I'm not going to give up on the Picasso. Okay, I might stop for today. It's getting late. And definitely when I paint horses or things like this, or the flowers, for example, you know, it's much, much more relaxing than painting something like this. So it's why I'm telling you, don't hesitate to take a break. And actually the horses and the flowers, I don't know if you had a chance to look at those videos and to paint with me, but for me, it was more about that. It was more about having a good time and having fun and so on. And I think it's important to define what we want as a painter. I'm not even going to say as an artist, because that's not even something else. But you know, if you are into having fun and just enjoying, you have to think about it, you know, because doing portraits is really challenging. It's one of the most difficult things to do. So I like to, and I'm not saying you should not do it. I'm just saying, you know, once in a while, take a piece of paper or whatever and paint a flower, just to get away, just to, you know, not struggle so much. For me, painting the flower is like going on vacation, you know, like having some fun. And don't make me wrong, I'm having fun doing this kind of thing. But before I start having fun, it took me a very long time. For a very long time, I was considering doing portraiture or commission portrait as something really challenging and difficult. And I remember that sometime I was even feeling like it was too much. Now I guess one of the things that I enjoy as well is the result. Of course, if you get good results on something, there's a lot of chance you're going to enjoy it more. But before you start enjoying it, you might, maybe not, maybe some of you will be just having fun or doing great portraits and so on. But for me, there was something really difficult about doing portraits for a very long time. Now I like it because I think sometimes it's fascinating to see the result. You know, when I look at those paintings and sometimes I'm even wondering if I'm the one who painted them. And you know, I think actually that's really interesting. A portrait sometimes is good when you feel it doesn't belong to you anymore, or you didn't do it, or you know, there's something almost magical about it. And you see, I'm still working with a pretty large brush. Anyway, tomorrow I will work on the Picasso. I'm a bit worried, as I say, about it, you know, because it's I never start painting knowing I'm going to succeed. It's an adventure. Okay, enough for tonight. Let's take a break. And we'll start again tomorrow. Good evening. Bye-bye. So let's go back on the painting of Matisse. So I'm going to turn the camera, the close-up camera. I hope you can see it clearly. So today is the anniversary of the birthday of Picasso. So it's pretty funny to work on this one. So the painting is pretty much dry from yesterday. That's why I really like to use that liquid, because it's really shortened the drying time, so I can work on those painting with more less time between the sessions. So it's great. So I really have to make sure that I have all the subtleties, like for example the forehead. If you look at the forehead, the gray, there's no brush. I mean, of course, there's no brush mark in the real world. There's still a couple of grain on his skin. But I really want to give that volume. Quite often we have a tendency to overvalue the contrast, to paint with more than what it really is. Like for example, I've noticed that the shadow of my nose are way too strong. So I'm going to mute them down by painting in white a little bit over it. A lot of things about what is really difficult about portraiture is that it's a lot of subtleties, and I mean, unless you paint in a more expressionistic way, which I like to do sometimes, almost as a little refreshment. For this one as well, I can use the mirror to double check my drawing. So the mirror technique is simple, and I'm going to explain it really simply. When you look at yourself in a video, and it's why most of the time it feels strange to see yourself in a video, you see yourself like other people look at you. While most of the time, the only way you were used to look at ourselves is in a mirror, and the mirror shows you an image that is reverse. So when you raise your right hand in the mirror shows the left hand. So we're kind of used to seeing ourselves return all the time. So it's why we get so weird, feel so weird when we see ourselves in a video. And it's about the same thing when you hear your voice recorded. It takes some time to get used to it. So I use the mirror as a tool to see my painting differently. But if I use the mirror too much, then of course I'm going to get used to the image in the mirror, and then the mirror will be inefficient. So don't use the mirror too much, but what you can do is to use the mirror. So I use a hand mirror like this, and I look at my painting. I look at my painting, even, I'm going to show you from this angle. yeah, I look at my painting using the mirror, and I look at the painting so I can see what's wrong. So for example, I see that I have a really strong line here and my nose is not defined the way I want. The reason why I like also I'm going to show you the reason why I like to work the way I do is because you see, let me open my iPad like this, and I can increase details on his face like this. So I really love that about the iPad, the possibility to increase pretty largely some small area, which is going to help me to see the painting or the image with more definition. It's really great when I work on portrait and commission portrait, so I can really focus on small details. The problem of increasing the size like this, it's only good if your painting is already pretty accurate and pretty right, because otherwise losing everything here is kind of risky, because I could overdo some things or underdo others because I don't have a global vision of what's going on. You know, his nose is actually a bit bigger than what I've done. So now I'm not using liquid anymore. There's several reasons, because first the painting is thick enough now, so I don't have that problem of of absorbing. You know, the fact that the paper absorbs a lot the colors. So now I've pretty much the same feeling than if I was working on canvas. And I like the old painting without the requeen is a bit drier to apply. And I like it better. You have to find your own comfort zone. You know, we're all different. Even if you learn from someone and you try really to follow the guidance, you're still going to develop your own. You're still going to develop your own habits, your own technique. There's going to be things you're going to do differently, just because as we practice, we also improve our technique and find things that works better for you than I think it's why one of the reasons that there's so many different technique. Like if you talk to a painter, all of them, they have a different way of varnishing, of painting, of and of course one of the reasons is because when we learn, when we practice, we develop our own way of experiencing the contact with the brush, with all that. So feel absolutely free to not do exactly like me. And it's funny because we want to go to see. We have a friend. I have a friend with she restores paintings. So she get painting that's been damaged and she fixes them. And I'm curious to talk with her about technique because when I was a young painter, I went to the studio of a guy in my hometown, and he was painting exactly like the old master with all the mediums and so on. So I learned all that, like using how do you make your own medium, using what is it called? Standoli, and things like this. And I want to talk to her to see what she thinks about all that. There's sometimes a big debate between painters, like some are going to tell you that this technique is better and so on. I think it's important as well to develop our own understanding of the technique. I don't think there's one technique. I think there's and I will be honest with you, I think if your painting one day is worth $5 million, someone will find a way to make sure it stays beautiful for a very long time. So I don't really care about the technique itself. I mean, I've seen some Picasso painted on some cardboard and things like this, and the painting is worth so much money that they're making sure that the cardboard is going to go through the next 500 years. They can put it under a glass or something and so on. So don't really worry about the technique itself. If someone tells you your painting is not going to last, like 500 years, it's okay. So don't be too focusing on painting mediums and all that kind of stuff. Just experiment what makes you feel comfortable and do it. For me, you see, it's that. So I'm painting on paper. I know paper is not the most reliable support. Sometimes I even use varnish that are not supposed to be used, like professional varnish, industrial varnish. But once again, it's just do what makes you feel comfortable. Okay, I think I'm getting pretty close from my Matisse, so I'm going to use the mirror one more time to look at the painting. Yeah, I still have a couple of things. So for example, if you look at my horse paintings, of course the horse painting, the flowers were even more free. The horse painting were already more not achieve. It's not achieve. I don't like the word achieve. It sounds like you have to kill someone or something. My horse painting were more free than that, and the flower were even more free than that. Blah blah. So of course it depends on what you want to paint. Like it's obvious that some subjects are just going to require much more time. I know a lot of people who want to learn how to do portraits because it's great to paint the people you love, or people you just want to have the image, or just because it's interesting. So once again, portraiture is definitely one of the most difficult things to do. if you have a chance one day to go to art school, to an art school and so on, you will see that a lot of students don't even paint. I mean, most of people don't paint the hands or the faces because it's just requiring too much time. Okay, one check again in the mirror. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to turn off my phone. Okay, so as you know, I like to take off the... So for that series, I'm not necessarily looking for photorealism. I'm never looking for photorealism, actually. For me, what's important is to have try to catch the soul of the model. And so, this is the painting, my portrait of Mr. Matisse. So I'm going to work a little bit on the one of Picasso, but I failed completely on it. So, you know, as I said, oh, by the way, this is Manet and Picasso. Manet and Matisse. So they're going to be part of a series I'm going to call it the Most Wanted. You know, it reminds me of those images that were posted on in the city, glued on the wall with prize reward. Because all those guys, you know, if you can put your hand on one of their painting, they are the most wanted. Okay, so next one is finishing Picasso. Okay, bye-bye.